Students, this is Mr. Smith, and I'm going to be sharing with you the video called Arrays Part 3. This is in our Math Facts Strategies series, and you are learning how to use arrays to solve math facts problems, to help you memorize them, to help you figure out what they are when you don't know them. And so in our previous video called Arrays Part 2, we had learned that you can take an array and you can break it into two separate arrays with keeping the same amount of dots inside. And so we had followed some very specific rules. We're going to build on those rules today. And so if you recall, those rules were break one array into two arrays and make one of the two arrays have 5 columns. So I'm going to circle and make one array. I should say more like rectangle in here instead of circle. And what I want to do specifically here is I want to make sure that I write down what the new array is. So this one happens to be 3 rows by 5. And the leftovers, the second one, happens to be 3 rows by how many columns? Yes, 2. So this will be a review of all the previous problems in the arrays video 2. And so again, we're breaking this one down. We're going to put a rectangle around 5 columns worth. And now we have 4 by 5. And we happen to have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows by 3 columns for that one. Let's continue on. 6 by 7. Again, I'm going to go around 5 columns. And now, if I count my rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and of course 5 is the number of columns, 6 by 5, and then the leftover happens to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 2. Continue to move on here one more time. I'm going to break this array down. First of all, I'm going to figure out that it happens to be a 3 by how many columns is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Happens to be a 3 by 9. And so I'm going to break it down. Again, drawing around 5 columns worth. So I have 3 by 5, and what I have left over is 3 by 4. Let's look at this one. Rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one happens to be a 6 by 8. And so let's break this one down. Again, go around 5. And then write your two new arrays here. This one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows by 5. And the other one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 3. And we have one more here that we're going to do, and then we're going to go back and I'm going to show you a pattern that maybe you're already seeing in this, and maybe you'll see the pattern here in this one, but there's a little pattern that I want to make sure I point out to you. So this one happens to be a 6 by 9. It has the 6 rows, and it has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns. And I'm going to go around the 5 as I always do. And now I have 6 by 5, and with that I have 6 by 4. Alright, I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I want to point out to you something interesting that I notice about this. In the original one we had 3 rows. Well, the 3 happened to stay the same, didn't it? So this 3 right here is that 3 and that 3. So you'll notice that the 3, the number of rows, stayed the same. But here's the little trick that I noticed. With the 7, Remember how we talked about we're breaking this array down, we're breaking it into two arrays? I'm really breaking this 7 into two pieces. And look at this, 5 and 2. And what do we know about 7, 5, and 2? Well, if I take 5 plus 2, that equals 7. So when we're talking about the columns are getting broke down, is what's happening. We're keeping the rows the same. So let's see if that's true on this next one. The original one was 4 by 8, 4 rows, and look at this. We have 4 rows here, and we have 4 rows there. So the rows are staying the same. It's the columns that are getting broken down. In this particular problem, we have 8 for the column, and for this one we broke it down into a 5, and we broke it down into a 3. And look at this, 5 plus 3 equals 8. Pretty cool. Break one array into two arrays, make one of the two arrays 5 columns. We know that. So we've done that on here in blue. And look at this. The rows will stay the same from the original array. The row is going to stay the same. So the rows never change. The row is going to stay the same. What changes is the columns. We had 7 columns here, and now we actually have 5 columns right here, and we have 2 columns right there. Hence we have the 5 plus the 2. 5 plus 2 happens to be 7. Let's look at this one. This one originally we had 3 by 9, and look at this, you can actually see it right here. Take that 9, you can break it down into 5 and 4. So 4 and 5 equals 9. We're going to go to this one, and then we'll go to our last one. Same thing. The original array was 6 by 8. The 6, those stay the same. And then we broke down the columns into 5 and 3. And if you remember, 5 plus 3 equals 8. Last one. Did it work? Was it the same? True or false? Do we have the same? We have the same rows. 6. Yeah, true. And did we break down the columns? We did. We made this 9 into a 5 and a 4. And 5 plus 4 equals 9. Now, this is going to conclude this particular video on arrays part 3, and then our last video, arrays part 4, that's going to put everything together from the first 3 videos, and having that knowledge from the first 3 videos is really going to help you understand the strategy involved in figuring out math facts that you don't know. So please keep in mind how arrays work and how we can break them down. And if you know that, if you can keep that in your head, if you understand that, you are ready for video number 4, which is our final one. If you're not ready for that, I would suggest you go back and relook at the first 3 videos, or maybe one of the first 3 videos, maybe a spot that you got stuck. So be a good self learner and figure out whether you're ready to go on to part 4 or whether you want to review part 3 or part 2 or part 1.